Hey, this is Kevin reaching out really to bring a message for anybody who's looking to climb the corporate ladder, for anybody who's looking to cross over in their career, or someone looking to go from their professional life to CEO. I call it pro to CEO. My message today for you is really stop settling and start soaring towards that, literally and figuratively. When I was young, I wanted to go to college, and I didn't know how I was going to get there. I actually had a brother who went, but he did not finish. So the vision I thought of how to get there was going to be through him, and it actually never materialized. So when I realized that I wanted to go to college, I had to start really figuring out what it is that I wanted for myself and nobody else, no one else. And that's what it is. That's what's important for me to get across to you today. Stop settling and start soaring. I was outside in high school and I was watching the space shuttle go up. I know that's long gone now, but back then in high school it was a big deal to see the space shuttle. I could go outside my classroom and watch it go up. And in this particular day, it was the space shuttle for one of the first astronauts, Ron McNair, to go up. It was African American man, a role model, had been to space, getting to watch him go up again. And they had a school teacher who was going to go up. This was a big deal, so everybody stopped and watched. And I was outside by myself, and a lot of the class was inside. I had managed to kind of get outside and see it. And as I was watching it go up, it was climbing. And then all of a sudden, there was this kind of cataclysmic explosion. It's kind of like just stopped, and then things exploded. And then the rocket boosters, one went right, one went left, and it just started sailing. And then it just stopped. There was a cloud of smoke right there in the middle, and then the rockets went that way. And I was like, yo, what happened? What happened? I couldn't believe it. So I went inside, and then everybody's just like quiet, like in my classroom, and everybody's still. And you could hear the announcer say, ladies and gentlemen, there's been a situation. We're gonna, keep you posted. And then we began to slowly realize that there was an explosion, and we slowly began, the energy in the class moved from excitement to discouragement to total devastation. Like we were just all like real emotional and like just nervous. Some of people were weeping, some people were just quiet, some people literally were still within themselves and didn't know what to say. We were just kind of all, and the teacher got up and said, hey, we're going to turn the TV off. And everybody just settled down. And it was the last period in class, and then we obviously all knew that there had been a terrible explosion by the time we got home, and that mission was incomplete. It was not successful. And knowing that those people on that ship were trying to go somewhere with their lives, they had waited for this moment all their lives. And it occurred to me that they didn't settle. They were doing what they wanted to do. They knew the implication. I'm sure they realized that potentially something could go wrong, and I'm sure potentially their families didn't want anything to go wrong, neither did they, but it did happen, the most unfortunate thing. So what it made me realize on that day, that Kevin, you cannot settle for just the run of the mill for anything going forward. That you, like those people on that ship, your life can take off, and it can go whatever direction, and it can stop at a moment's notice. So what do you want to be known for? Taking off and doing the things that you really, 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 really want to do, Kevin? Or you just kind of just going to settle on the ground and just kind of meander through? And I really felt at that time it sent a strong message that don't settle, man. Do what you gotta do to go to college. And I was a good student anyway, but that really tightened me up, my frame of mind. That incident in itself shook me to the core and woke me up and said, those people, at the least, they went out doing something they wanted to do. They were not settling. They had reached the highest height, particularly of any human beings on the planet on that day, and they were going towards outer space. Their career literally was going out of this world, each of them. And the most unfortunate circumstance took them, and they certainly never, life is never the same for them and their families, of course. So what am I saying to you? That moment early in my career, yeah, it's possible for you, a young person, to be struck with something that sticks with you. I'm, in my 50s, and literally I can tell you that I still remember that as a 16-year-old. It shook me that hard. So what am I saying to you? I need you to not settle on wherever you are. If you are trying to get to be in that CEO suite, if you're trying to get to a point where you are discovering new skills, new talents, and you want to go somewhere with your career, I need you to think about taking that non-easy path, the one that requires audacious and bold faith like never before in yourself, for you to not settle on potentially crossing over in your career and becoming the CEO that you always wanted to be, that person. So whether you want to climb the ladder, whether you want to think about transitioning into a new career space and working for somebody, or you want to eventually work for yourself, it starts at whatever age, you 18 or if you're 50 something, you can make it happen. And I'm here to tell you, I'm living proof that at 16, I didn't know whether or not I was college material, but I knew that I did not want to settle based on what I was seeing around me, that I wanted to go further and further and further than what I saw around me. So I took the chance. I took the leap of faith. I had a high level of confidence in myself that I would eventually take that step and eventually get to a college that would accept me. And I got accepted into 4 or 5 schools, and I picked Florida State. And from there, life was never the same. I never came back. 4 summers in a row, I went from fall to spring to summer, and then fall to spring to summer, fall to spring to summer, fall to spring to summer, and I graduated. And then I went home for a semester that fall and got right back in graduate school and went a spring, summer, fall, spring, summer, fall, spring, and then summer, and graduated. And the reason why graduate school was a little bit longer, because it was a long program, almost 60 hours. And I worked 30 hours going to school, 9 hours in graduate school, having to make a B average or better, no exceptions. 30 hours making a 3.0 or better in graduate school. And sometimes I even took 12 hours to try to get done in 2.5 years, and I did it. So what am I saying? I never settled, even when I didn't think I was college material. I got into college, and then when I got to college, I did not settle. I went back and got to graduate school, and I made my career happen. Towards the end of my master's degree, I was offered the opportunity to compete for a job and got that job before I even finished my master's degree, to ensure that I had that next step figured out. I never stopped settling in my aspirations to get somewhere in my career. And I'm telling you, stop settling and start soaring. And when you decide for yourself that you're not going to settle, that you're not going to settle, you're going to decide to soar. That means you got to start training and start studying and start looking for people and things that are going to give you the right types of tools so you can continue to soar. Now, when I first got in my first role, it wasn't that I was taking off. I had to put energy in and start building and building and building. And it eventually came together, my first opportunity, and I made the most of it. I created so many things. I could not be denied in that job. I wanted to do the things that I thought that job took, not just advising. My first job was an athlete academic advisor. I did not just advise. I became a career counselor, a community relations person, a leadership person, an academic awards person. I was going in every direction I thought I needed to, on top of doing the job that they hired me for, which was to advise student athletes on their academic classes and make sure they remained academically eligible to move up semester after semester. That was the primary role. But after I mastered that, as I was mastering that, I learned how to do these other things. I never settled. I never got complacent. I began to push myself and say, man, there is more here than you could ever imagine. This job right here is a gold mine for you. You're going to put the stamp on this job like nobody has ever put on this job. And you're going to be put in a position to open up more and more opportunities. I started with golf, tennis, and track, the sports that a lot of people wouldn't have necessarily saw as opportunity. I saw it, not at first, but eventually I saw it as a great opportunity because I learned more about tennis. I learned more about track and field and cross country. And I certainly learned a great deal about golf. To this day, I play because that job introduced me to not only how to play, but what it means to build your acumen in a whole level, at another level, in another space that you never had before. I never settled even away from the job that would allow me to soar in other parts of my personal and professional career. When I eventually got to the point in my job where I was being offered jobs from other places, turning them down, and then there was something that caught my eye, I began to build on that. And this was my first foray into being an entrepreneur. I never settled exploring. And you got to have an explorer mindset. You got to have that curiosity, that push in yourself that says, until I figure it out, I'm going to keep pushing towards passion of what it is that I want to do. What's my passion? If you haven't figured that out, that's part of not settling. You got to find something that you're passionate about. I eventually found that I was passionate about the business of helping people, particularly athletes, because I had a brother that struggled and I didn't want anybody to struggle like he did. And I wanted to put my signature in that space to help redefine what that industry, and to this day, my own company, ProtoCO, is still working on changing the narrative of how people go from the next to success, from going from what's next to success. Truly a concept of transition and being able to make that next transition over and over successful and more successful. So I'm saying to you that don't settle and start soaring. The more you think about not settling and staying busy, listening to things, developing your skills, building your network, concentrating on getting with the right people at the right time and disciplining yourself to stay away from the things that are going to distract you. No distractions, no deviations. You can have fun, but it's always in what? Moderation. And I was a pretty serious guy like I am today, and I believe I have my fair quotient of fun, and I believe that because of that I'm able to do what I'm able to do because I understood how I was wired and what I needed to do in order to make success my best friend. I figured it out, and I built on that from job to job to job to job. So this talk today is for the career climbers, people who want to climb the ladder. Never settle if you want to be successful. You've got to keep grinding and pushing yourself to whatever level or passion that you want to do. And once you decide what that is, and you figure that out, you will be better and better in time after time if you stay with the course. The course will get rough. The course will get unpredictable. It will not be straight. It will not be an ascent. It'll be a zigzag, up and down, peaks and valleys, potholes, everything else. It'll throw you off alignment, and then you have to figure out how to get back on. Yes, I'm telling you, it ain't gonna be easy, and you know that as well as I do. But what I will tell you, that if you commit to something and you begin it and you stay the course, in due time, knowing that nothing's going to be perfect and you will have challenges that come before you, if you commit and you stay with it, you will get your fair share and a seat at that table like I did. I got a seat at the highest level of my profession, helping athletes in the sport of basketball, and I was not surprised totally when I got there, because I had put in the work. And then eventually, even that had a shelf life to where I needed to not settle and keep soaring. And I began my own foray into becoming an entrepreneur, understanding I needed to make my own career crossover at the right time. So I'm telling you, and I'm going to keep emphasizing, stop settling and start soaring. If you want to climb that corporate ladder, if you want to begin to work on changing your careers to a new career path and work for somebody, that's fine. Or eventually you want to work for yourself, you got to have a mindset to stop settling and start soaring. That is it. This is Kevin Carr, CEO, Pro to CEO. Hope you enjoyed that. I look forward to talking to you next time. Gotta go.